Well, hello and welcome to Reviewed at the Round Table. I'm Jennifer, and my co host today just left his fur and jumped down. Guess there was something interesting at the window. But my other co host, Jasmine, is here as always. It's hard to see her because of where I positioned the little thing. There, now we see Jasmine. That's a good girl. Yeah. I know. While I'm redoing my office, I'm gonna have to redo it so that everybody can see Jasmine properly. All right. So today I wanted to review something that kind of surprised me that I was gonna even review it. It is a Llewellyn's collection of astrology calendars. So it's that time of year, of course, where we get our calendars for the next year. So I got my calendar. I usually order my calendars in like July, August. I know, just to make sure. For the next year, but also so that I can prepare. So as I was sitting here preparing for 2023, some of the stuff that I'm posting for 2023, I was looking at these calendars and I was like, oh my gosh, I really need to talk about these. Really need to review these and tell you why I use Llewellyn's. It is certainly not the only, but I use a lot of their products just because they're easy to understand and they do a lot of explaining. So let me get into this. I'm so excited to tell you about these. Haha. Okay, so let's start with the big calendar. So for years, I used calendars from um, this guy named Jim Maynard. These pocket astrology calendars or pocket astrologer calendars were so fantastic. And I got turned on to them by an astrologer who had been studying astrology for like 40 years. And she's actually the one that got me into astrology and not afraid of it. And how she started me off was with these. I loved these, but he stopped printing them. He stopped making them and I just loved it because it just so much information in these and he really did. He stopped printing them and I just was torn up. So, when I started looking around for something to replace because there's so much information in Maynard's and I still actually use them for reference, just to let you know. Llewellyn's came up not just because of the pretty pictures, which they do have. Like here's January of 2023. That's a pretty cool looking Capricorn, to be honest with you. But here's the biggest reason why I chose it, or one of the bigger reasons why I chose it. Do you see in like January 14th? Not only does it tell you the moon, but it also gives you all the aspects of what's going on that day. More, again, aspects. That is the reason why I chose this calendar because I need to see the aspects of everything that is going on and like what's happening. So this is the primary reason why I chose this calendar is like all of these lovely aspects that tells me exactly what's going on with the planets, what's going on with the moon, what's happening. And it's so phenomenal. Now, here's some other good things about this calendar. There is a whole portion like an introduction so that it introduces you and it's after the last one, so there's Sagittarius and oh my gosh, look at that beautiful Scorpio for 2023. Holy crap, may have to cut her out and frame her. So what I like is here is like introduction explanation of all of the planets if you are new to astrology. Very interesting. Then it goes into it even goes into the elements. It goes into the polarities of masculine and feminine. It goes into the qualities, cardinal, fixed, and mutable. and the elements of fire, earth, air, and water. So that's actually when I do readings at the round table and I do the weekly zodiac signs. I read all of the cardinal signs together. I read all the mutable signs together, and I read all of the fixed signs together because they all have stuff in common. And so it's really easy to read them that way, just for like, just to explain. Um, and then there's an explanation here of also just all the signs, and which is just beautiful. It's lovely. It starts explaining the astrological houses. It goes through all 12 houses, and then it goes through the aspects themselves. So it goes through the conjunction, sextile, square, trine, um, opposition, quincux. It's really fantastic. Then it talks about what happens when they're transiting, the planets that are transiting. It goes through all of the moon's influences, the moon void of course. Wow, I'm just knocking stuff down all over the place. The moon void of course, and even the moon signs themselves, the moon as it's in each sign. So it's such a wonderful reference, piece of reference material. Now, I don't use those things as much as I use all the aspects. So this gives you a quick little overview of aspects. So it will go through all of the planets, like here's Mercury and Pluto, and it goes through all of like all the different aspects that Mercury could have with Pluto, and it gives you a little quick definition. I like to see how everything is sort of like going, what else is happening at that aspect. Because when, like, with Mars in retrograde, Mars in retrograde is pretty intense by itself, but Mars in retrograde in Gemini has a whole different feel to it, right? Then, when Mars is retrograding in Gemini, already intense feelings, right? I mean, already intense stuff going on. When it has an aspect with another planet, those aspects could be a little bit more. It could be a little bit more intense on any of those. So just to keep that in mind. So I like to make sure that I'm looking at the whole picture and not just one tiny piece of it, which, I know is astrology in itself. Here's the other thing I like about this. It does say about travel and vacations in 2023. And then of course we have the like planting and stuff that you want to do by the moon, which is fantastic because it talks about buying a home, brewing beer, fixing cars. What I really, really use is the hair. Mm. I don't get my hair cut just at any old time. I only get my hair cut at certain times of the moon. Yeah. When I plant in my garden, and I love to plant in my garden, I only plant by the moon. And that you can also see in the Farmer's Almanac. That Farmer's Almanac also follows moon planting. The next important thing about this calendar is it has an ephemeris, which is again what I loved about Jem Maynard's stuff, is that there was always an ephemeris in the back. This was sunrise and sunset, but there's an ephemeris in the back of Jem Maynard, so that was also really great to see in this calendar. And it's a wall calendar, so it's really, really handy to have in your office, um to see the ephemeris and to see the complete ephemeris for the year. Oh, here's the other one. Okay, so the other great thing is that you see all the planets in retrograde. There's a complete retrograde chart in the back. And eclipses, it tells you when the eclipses are for the coming year. It's so wonderful. I mean, all of this stuff is just so great, and it's such handy information. And like, it's nice, but sometimes I just like take the back off of the calendar and put this somewhere because this is just so handy to have all on its own, just the whole back part of it. I mean, in a nutshell, looking at your retrograde planets. I cannot blah blah blah. Retrograde planets and looking at when your eclipses are, what's going on with them, what's happening, where they're visible from. It's pretty awesome. And then you have a whole chart of planet visibility. So when you can actually see those planets if you're in those parts of the world. It's kind of nice. Um this is the 2023 calendar. I like getting ready to do my stuff for January. So this is really cool. And the 90th edition. Pretty awesome, huh? I do always buy the Llewellyn's Pocket Planner. It's it's a really nice planner because it also has an ephemeris in the back. It has a lot of the same information that this one does, that the big calendar does. The ephemeris being the handiest thing to have when I'm traveling or when I'm like out doing shows and stuff. Um, it has the moon void of course. Um, and sorry. It has the planetary stations, where all the planets are stationed and what's going on with them, like when they're retrograde and stuff. The thing that I do not like about this calendar is that there are no aspects in it. Now, I know that it's not hard to figure out, and there is an ephemeris in the back, but it's so nice to just look and see that in a calendar, like at a glance, really quickly, and go, especially when I'm traveling and I just want to pull this out and go, okay, why is everything so effed up today? Or why is everything so crazy? And you pull it out and go, oh, this is the aspects that are happening. But I don't have that. So I usually have to write it in on these calendars, which is it takes up time. But it's nice to have it when I'm traveling, and at least like I can see when the planets are retrograde or where they're stationed at. It's kind of nice. I would really like to see the aspects in here, but I know that that takes up a lot of space, but it's so important, and that's why I like in an astrology calendar. And also I I will write them in, especially when I'm traveling, so it kinda makes it nice. But what I really, really love about this is seeing when the mood is void of course, because, that takes planning. When you're planning your stuff and you don't wanna hit the moon void of course, that's important. Then it also has the Mercury retrograde dates, but it only has Mercury in here. Um, this this book is so essential to me because first of all, it is a nice little planner. It is a nice little calendar. So you can actually write things in there for those days. It's so that's the cool thing, is it does tell you what's going on with the moon, like at each part. I love that it has little, like this little phrase, let me tell you the secret that has led me to my goals. My strength lies solely in my tenacity. Louis Pasteur. Love that. So, and then it tells you, like, here's the moon, it's in Libra, what quarter it's in, when it moves into Scorpio. It gives you some pretty specific times, and which is really awesome. And it tells you what activities you should be doing during that time. So it gives you that whole year, there. Um then the other thing is there's the planting again. But I also oh, and here's each month. Um and like each month, like how the moon is moving, and just at a glance like where the moon is going to be at a certain time, or certain day. Then we have companion planting guide. I cannot tell you how much I use this and how much it has triggered me to look up more companion plantings, because traditionally, historically, before we had pesticides and stuff, we did a lot of companion planting here because it helps, like, one plant can draw away pests from another plant, and it's so wonderful to have this companion planting guide. I absolutely love that. Um, and then these are more plantings, like when to plant, what moon to plant them in. So, for instance, the apple tree, you want to plant in the second or third quarter of the moon, and you want to plant it in a Cancer, Pisces, or Virgo sign. It's very nice, very nice. Then it goes through all the moons. It goes through each moon. What you should do in a Gemini moon or a Cancer moon, and it goes through all of them. Very, very nice. Then it says, here's your activities for January, and it gives you the actual days that you should be doing things. So, for spaying and neutering animals in January, you really want to stick to 19th through the 21st. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a good guideline. I mean, you don't need to just spay and neuter them at weird times of the moon. You don't need to do any kind of surgeries at weird times of the moon. So I always look for that. Um, and then here, this is one of my favorite things. Okay, haircuts. So this goes through all these activities like in detail. This next section is choosing the best time for your activities. It goes through all of these activities and what you should do during, what time you should pick to do those things. So, haircuts. Oh, yeah. So, cut the hair when the moon is in Gemini, Sagittarius, Pisces, or Taurus, or Capricorn, but not in Virgo. Hmm. Then we look for faster hair growth, slower hair growth, thicker hair growth. Then there's a paragraph on permanent straightening and hair coloring. Just thinking, just making sure you have that. So I do live by that, just to let you know. Then we have, I mean, there's so many things in here: friendship, health, home, buying new, making home repairs, when to ask for a loan, when to make a will, when to get married. So lots of great stuff in here. Like, oh, here's the moon. So marriage, like, Aries is not favored for marriage. You just never know. I can't actually remember the moon when I got married, because I actually got married twice. But, I mean, to the same man twice. Um, but I did the numerology, and I looked at all the astrology for those days. So, and that was before I really even started studying it hard and heavy. All right. So, I mean, this has everything: romance, reconciling with people, I love this. If the reconciliation is with a woman, let Venus be strong and well aspected. Hmm. If elders or superiors are involved, see that Saturn is receiving good aspects. If reconciliation between young people or between an older and a younger person, see that Mercury is well aspected. So, a lot of good information here. And then we again move to another table, which is just so awesome. So this is another moon table for January of 2023, and then we have all the favorable and unfavorable days for like doing stuff, and it has all of the planets lined up right here. So what would be the best thing to do? It's pretty awesome. Oh, yeah, sorry, the planets and the signs, because here's the signs and the planets. I almost left that out. I know I have it in my notes, like right here, like propped up against the monitor, which is why I can't see part of my face. But, sometimes I forget to look at my notes. Okay, dates to hunt and fish, dates to destroy weeds and pests. Egg setting dates, but here's the other. You'll see this repeated from the big astrological calendar by Llewellyn's. It's the retrograde. Blah, 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 I said that again. Retrograde planet dates. So you'll see all of the planets lined up right here. It tells you when it begins, when it ends, like the Pacific time, because this is the Eastern time. Um, and again, when it ends, and Eastern and Pacific time. And then we have all like the whole lineup, so you can see when most of the planets are retrograde. Most of the planets are retrograde this year, a little bit later than they have been, because they all move a little bit down, a little bit down the calendar every year. So we're going to see most of them being retrograde at the same time in August. That's going to be a fun month. August and September. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here is the other thing I like. It's the weather forecasting for 2023, and how you can look and see like what's going on with the moons, and what it would do in your area. Oh, hello. Thank you for joining me. Um what it will be for your area, and you can look up the zones. It'll tell you here what zone you're in, and then it tells you the weather forecast for that zone. It's kind of cool. I know. And it does it's really, I think it's just really cool, and it's a lot like the Farmer's Almanac, to be real honest with you. And I do like the Farmer's Almanac too. All right. So, okay, it does talk about eclipses. Um, and then there's the moon quarter. Okay, so here is something else that I use, especially when I'm doing some of my shows, the new moon and the full moon forecast for 2023. Because as you are reading this about the new moon and the full moon and what's going on, you'll see that it includes some of the aspects that are happening to with that moon at that time. Hey baby, I know. You'll see a lot of those like aspects coming up in the paragraph. It's so fantastic. So then you can go back and you can see if it resonates with you, and what it means. Um but I like getting just like this little blurb, this glimpse as to what is going to happen during that particular moon. It's really nice. It helps me plan out like my content and stuff. The moon and the elements, I like this because it really helps people understand what it means when you have moon in an air sign versus an earth sign or a fire sign. Like, what does that mean? Um, and then it has this nice little thing about yoga, like that. Um, and I love this part, nature on its own terms. So this is a lot of information in this book, and I really, really, really love it. Um, and I think it's just so I really do. Oh, that has things about Chiron in it, and archetypes associated with Chiron. I do like the fact that most of these have something related to the asteroids as well, because we don't want to forget, like, Chiron's a pretty important asteroid, and so a lot of these will also have the asteroids on them as well. So it's kind of nice. Especially the ephemeris in the back here of this one has the asteroids on it as well. Um, and it just saves me from having to go to another publication to look up the asteroids and what's going on with them. So it's pretty awesome. These are pretty awesome. They're really, really great for beginners in astrology, and I can say that because I feel like I am still in the beginning of my astrology journey, because I've only been studying astrology now for, well, 2023 will make 5 years. So I've only been a student of astrology for, oh no, I'm sorry, 6 years. I can't add either. And I'm a numerologist. What's wrong with me? So 2017 is when I really, really started, and 2018 I dove deeper, and every year I've gotten a little deeper since. So I am still relatively new, but I love, love, love astrology. And the lady that really encouraged me and really told me like how much I would enjoy this, I didn't think I would. Um, Annie just was so helpful in like giving me the right things to read and study. And it's been phenomenal. And it's helped me in my journey here. And I think I like going back to the basic stuff and just saying, okay, where are we at? And then like diving in a little bit deeper to see why this aspect of Mars and Venus is different than another time that it aspects. So it does depend on the planets. I mean, and the signs that they're in. So, like I said, we have Mars and Gemini right now, which I also look up the history of it. And historically speaking, Mars and Gemini isn't the most fun. Mars retrograde in Gemini, certainly not the most fun. So I look at the history of it as well. But these tools help get me to where I need to go. These are not the only publications that are for astrology to help you figure everything out. They are just the ones that I use. So I don't want you to take this as like gospel that this is the only one that you should use. No, you should definitely use what resonates with you, what works for you. This is what works for me. And I just wanted you to see all the details and things that drew me into these after I couldn't get I mean, look, I saved them. And then Annie gave me a whole bunch. She was like, "Do you want any of my old ones?" And I was like, "Yes, I'll take them. I'll take them all." So I have a whole bunch of the old ones too that again I use as reference material. But they stopped printing them. They didn't print them in 2020. So, um these are wonderful. They're absolutely great. If you ever get your hands on some old ones, they're great reference materials. I mean, just the information in them alone is awesome. But replacing these was not easy, but Llewellyn's has certainly helped with that. And I love all the information in the wall calendar. It just has so much just great information, and I I do use it like it's gospel because it helps me. And I take all the aspects that I see in the wall calendar and I write them down on the pocket calendar so that when I'm traveling that I only have to take this and I don't have to take the big calendar. It just helps me out, especially if I'm traveling and I need to make a video. Although I try really hard not to do that, but you never know, right? Thank you so much for joining me today. Links for Llewellyn's and where you can buy them will be in the description below. You can also get them at your local metaphysical store, but Amazon is fantastic for getting these, so that if you're in a place where you don't have a metaphysical store really close, you can absolutely order these from Amazon. It works. Thank you again for joining me today. And my co-host Mouse finally showed back up. I guess he's coming to pick up the rest of his hair that he left. I know. Badger hasn't moved. He's sitting over here on the couch, and I just keep looking at him, going, "You all right, there, buddy?" He's comfortable, so he's not moving. Thank you again for joining me. Don't forget to check out my shows on my channel, Readings at the Round Table, where you can get your weekly zodiac readings and your monthly numerology reading. Um, and of course, some of my awesome shows on Metaphysical Round Table that are available to you. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for participating on either one of my channels. And until I see you again, get out there and make your magic. Bye.